Hey, it's David. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my grandpa's model trains. Now, these trains include four sets, one American Flyer set and three Lionel sets, all of which were owned by my grandpa when he was a kid. And I actually played with these sets extensively when I was a kid. They're really like the first trains that I had ever really seen, like real model trains. That is, I've had toy trains before then. Really introduced me to them. Why I probably why I collect Lionel trains are because of this. And yeah, I have a lot of connection to these. Now, my grandpa actually gave me all of these trains several years ago, but yeah, I've cherished them ever since then. But anyways, I'll take you through every set, show you all the engine and the cars, but yeah, let's get started. The first set we'll be taking a look at is this Lionel Missouri Pacific freight set from 1957. The engines included in the set are a pair of Lionel number 205 Missouri Pacific Alco locomotives. Now, these engines are relatively simple, only featuring one motor in the powered unit as well as a light and nothing in the A unit, or the other A unit, the dummy A unit. No horn or anything like that, but they're nice. I've always loved the paint scheme of these engines. Now, these engines aren't in the best shape, but the power unit does run. Unfortunately, though, it's missing its rear coupler because the actual metal mounting piece is broken, so I'll have to repair that one day. But it is in relatively nice shape. The shell on the front unit is nice, as you can see. The actual, if I pick it up here, the plastic skirt is not damaged on this one, which is very common, but unfortunately it is on the dummy unit. But they're a nice little set of engines, and are actually one of two postwar diesel engines. I've got quite a few postwar steam engines, but only a couple diesel engines, so I very much like these. Now, the first car in the set is this Lionel red tinplate flat car pipe load. Very simple car, plastic trucks, plastic couplers, metal wheels, tin construction, but it's nice. I always love playing with the pipes and stuff, and I've got several of these little tinplate flat cars, but this is the one that is in the nicest shape. Behind that, we have this blue Lionel number 6112 gondola with the air canisters, and I always loved playing with this car with the canisters, taking them out and putting them back in. They've got this really nice writing on the front, and they're just like very cool, very characteristic of the post-war era. I really love this car. I've actually got two of those. One was included in this set, and one in another set we'll take a look at in a minute. But again, a relatively simple car. This is an 027 set, so nothing fancy. But very nice car, very vibrant, works well with the blue Alco units. The next car is another one of those tinplate flat cars. At one point, I believe this was supposed to have a pipe load, but it does not anymore, unfortunately. But very simple, nice car. This one's in a gray color. It's not as vibrant as the others, but not terrible. Although it is actually got kind of a corroded coupler on one end. But other than that, it's in okay shape. And the last two cars in the set, which obviously go together, that being the Lionel Line's crane car as well as the work caboose. And these were always some of my favorites because I think the crane car is just so cool. Unfortunately, much of the mechanism is broken, but so it just kind of sits there. But it's still a very interesting car, and as you can see, these ones actually have the nicer metal trucks. But yeah, it's a nice little car, fun to play with. And obviously the work caboose to go with it, because you can't have the crane car without the boom car. And it's got the nice Delaware lock-on and Western on it. But something that's kind of interesting on it is if you look in the top deck of it here, it's kind of melted slightly. It's kind of strange. I'm not sure why that was there, but it's always been there. It's kind of an odd little thing, but I don't know. Overall, nice set. Simplistic 027 set. Simple 027 engines and cars and stuff, but it's a good little set and it's fun to play with. Next up is this Lionel steam freight set from 1958, which, as you can see, is unfortunately not in the best condition. But I've always thought this set was pretty special, mostly because, one, the engine has this really cool orange stripe running down the middle. You don't see that a lot. And two, my grandpa actually had the Lionel 1958 catalog, which the set was shown in, so it was always cool to see the actual set in the catalog itself. But yeah, as you can see, the engine is in really bad shape. It's missing a lot of pieces. I've never run it. I've never even attempted to run it. It's missing things such as the E unit, I believe. It's missing many parts, as well as a lot of the wires and the drive rods and everything. And overall, it's just pretty beat up. But it is unfortunate. I mean, it is a nice engine, the paint job and everything, but unfortunately in poor condition. I mean, as you can see here, the shell isn't even held on. There's the motor right there. I mean, the top screw has been ripped straight out of the shell. So I don't know what happened to this one, but unfortunately it didn't make it. But yeah, I love the graphics on the tender, though. The tender is in pretty nice shape. A little bit dusty, a little bit rusty, but not too bad. It's got that orange striping. So maybe one day I can find an engine to replace this one, and I'll be able to run the set. But yeah, let's move on to some of the cars. Alright, here's the first car in the set, this yellow Lionel flat car. And much like the engine is in really poor condition, it's very corroded and rusted, which is unfortunate. It's also missing the truck that sat on top of it. But yeah, I don't know, very simple. Another one of those tinplate flat cars. It's a shame that it's in such poor shape, but it's better than not having it at all, I guess. Now this next car is in much nicer shape and is probably my favorite car out of all of my grandpa's trains. It's this this Bosco little two-door plug door box car, and it's a very simple one of the 027 type box cars, very small. I actually believe it's closer to 1 to 64 scale than 1 to 48. But I've always loved the graphics on it with the Bosco, the chocolate syrup writing on that. I always found that super interesting, and I loved that when I was a kid, and I still find it really nice. And you know what? It goes well with these simpler 027 sized engines. May not be a scale car, but I still love it. Now this next car is another one of those blue Lionel 6112 gondolas, this time with red canisters. Other than that, nothing really different. Again, simple 027 type of car, but it's a nice addition to the set. And of course, the caboose. Now this is probably one of the most common Lionel post-war cars in them all, the Lionel Line 6017 caboose. Although this one is not in red, which is the most common color. I think this is actually in the Tuscan, possibly like the muted Tuscan, which I believe is a bit more rare. But other than that, it's very simple, not lighted or anything. Plastic trucks, but a nice little car. You gotta have a caboose with your train set, so it does the job well. And now we've come to our last O-gauge set. This little Lionel post-war steam freight set from, I believe, around 1959, 1960. I'm not exactly sure with the date on that, but it's around those years, I know. And this is, again, a nice little simple set with that very common Lionel Scout type. This is the number 244, which is a little bit more unique because it does feature a smoke unit. Now, this engine is also very special because it was the first engine that we ran, actually. When my grandpa showed me his trains, we set up a loop of track on the dining room table, and this is the engine we ran. And I remember seeing the lights and the smoke and hearing it run around, and just that was the moment I think that I was hooked on model trains. So that's what I think is very special about this engine. Now, cosmetically, it's not in the best shape. On one side, it's actually missing part of the drive rods assembly, as well as you can see, the front of the engine on the pilot is severely damaged, as well as one of the struts in the cab is broken off. But other than that, it's a nice little engine. It does run, but again, another thing missing from it is one of the pickup rollers, so it does not run over the switches very well. It actually reverses when it hits the switch, which is kind of odd, but it does run pretty well. I serviced it recently, so if I can find a replacement part, then I think it would run great. Now, the first car on the set I think is very interesting. It's this Lionel number 6825 flat car. It's a red plastic flat car, so the flat car itself is not special, but I actually think it's really cool because it came with this bridge on it as a load. Now, it doesn't work for trains, it's too small, but I think for vehicles and stuff, it looks perfect. Now, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be an arch underbridge like that, or if it rests flat on the car like this. I've seen pictures of it both ways, but other than that, I think it's a very interesting little piece. Alright, next car in the set is this Lionel number 6062 New York Central Gondola. Fairly common car, but I've always loved the orange coils in it. Another thing, New York Central is my favorite railroad, so it's been a nice car to have. I love running this with a lot of my post-war stuff. But yeah, simple car, but nice graphics, and again, I love those orange coil loads. I've considered wrapping actual wire around them, but I haven't ever gotten around to doing that. And of course, the last car in the set, again, another Lionel 6017 caboose in this kind of reddish brown color, and possibly Tuscan, but I'm not 100% sure. Again, very simple, no lights, nothing like that, plastic trucks, but you need a caboose, and it does the job well. And the last set, kind of the odd one out, is this American Flyer set. I believe this is from the late 1940s, so it kind of doesn't fit in well with the other stuff in terms of years. Actually, this might have been my grandpa's brother, I believe he said at one point in time. But as you can see, it comes with the classic American Flyer Royal Blue Pacific. The engine's not in terrible shape, but the tender is in relatively poor condition, as well as a B&O boxcar. I can't quite remember the graphics on this here, but I believe it's a let's see here, Texas and Pacific gondola, and a Reading lighted caboose. I believe it's lighted. But yeah, that's it for all of my grandpa's trains. I'm David. If you liked the video, please leave it a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.